Good morning, a very early morning, 6 o'clock here, just gone 6 o'clock here in the UK, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And where are you in Australia?
It is. I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh,
So
nice.
Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
So
Yeah.
we're heading towards your summer over there.
Yeah. 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 We're right into springtime now, and soon it
Nice.
will definitely warm up.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Well, I'm joined today by Kym Langfield, published by Daisy Lane Publishing and various anthologies. So we'll start where we always start. How did you get into writing? Can you remember the first thing you wrote?
I can. I've actually got it in my hands.
Okay, let's
So
have a
when
do.
I,
Yeah, let's do
yeah.
have a look.
So, well, when I was 7 was when I started to be a reader. Well, I would say an independent reader. I've always been very keen and loved books. And I got into all those Enid Blyton books, especially the Noddy series. And this is one of
Great.
the early Noddy books that I
Oh
still have,
yes.
that I've
Oh,
treasured.
oh,
And because I was so obsessed with Noddy, I decided I needed to make a Noddy book. I needed to help Enid to make a Noddy book. So this is the first book that I
wow.
wrote and illustrated when I was either 6 or I might have been
Oh,
6 actually, because I was
mhm.
in grade 1 and that's 6 or 7 in Australia. And
Wow.
so I made a story. It's real
Nobody goes to the
plagiarism,
snow.
taking her characters.
Right.
But yeah, I wrote
Oh,
the
I'm sure
story and
she'd
drew
have
some
been
little
honoured.
pictures.
Yeah. Nobody
I
goes to
hope
the
so.
snow.
And there was
It's
even
lovely.
I think there was a blurb on the back.
Oh, oh right. So you knew what to do even then. That you had to write a
Well,
blurb.
and I think yes, and I think because I was so obsessed with books, I spent all my hours looking at them and loving them, and I just
Mm.
thought I have to make books. So,
Oh.
and I've always held on to that dream through the years, even when
Mm.
I've had knockbacks and challenges, and life's got busy and in the way. I've never
Mm.
let that go. So,
Mm.
yeah, all
So
started when I
do
was about 6 or 7.
wow. Do you write every day? I know you have a family. You're busy. Do
I,
you write
I wish
something?
I could ride every day.
Mm.
Yeah, so I have a family. I have 2 daughters and a Labrador.
Oh, nice.
I'm a teacher, so I
Mhm.
teach 4 days a week. So it's more that I write I have Fridays off, which I'm really lucky to have, and across the weekend. So
Mm.
depending what's happening here, I do love the early starts to the day when it's nice and quiet and before it gets busy in our household. And yeah, when I'm really focused, I can write and draw because I illustrate as well for
Mhm.
hours. I won't notice the time going by and I'll think,
Mm.
oh, better start thinking about cooking some dinner or pick up the girls from
It's
school
fun.
or something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
But I don't do the late nights anymore. Earlier on, I would be writing or drawing late into the night, like even past
Mm.
midnight, and I don't know how I did it. I'm sleeping
Wow.
now by 9 p.m.
Yeah. No, absolutely the same. I'm the early bird, hence being up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Whereas my husband's the opposite. So we are, and he's on nights at the moment. So we're literally ships. He'll wake me
Yeah.
up with a cup of tea, and then we'll have a chat for a few minutes, and then he goes to bed, and that's it. And
Yeah.
yesterday he was up about 7:30 in the evening to go to work at 11.
Oh,
So we had a
wow.
bit of a bit of an evening, but yeah. So how long? I
Yeah.
love the on the Daisy Lane your page
Mm.
on there. There's a really cute picture of it. Oh, I always forget this is opposite this webcam. A really cute
Yeah.
picture of a dog with its head. How long would
Oh.
that take you to draw?
Oh. Oh. If I'm sketching something detailed, I'd probably just on and off through a day do the sketch with grey lead, and
Mhm.
then probably on another day add the do some painting, and I finish off with coloured pencil details. So I'd probably
Okay.
just say a couple of days on and off.
Mhm.
But that picture you're talking about, that was based on my dog Cookie. So she was a very
Oh,
cheeky spoodle that lived to 17. We were really lucky to
oh
have her
wow.
all through those years.
Wow, that's really good.
Very mischievous. So that one, uh, I had a story published in an anthology about a dog that I named Muddy Paws, but it was pretty much based on Cookie. So that particular picture didn't take too long. I'd probably say, yeah, a day to do it, two at the
Okay.
most. But
Okay.
if I'm doing like a full color spread in a book with
Mm.
details, then I would just take my time, a few days or even over a couple of weeks, work on it, so I don't rush it too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Good. And I notice you've been published in anthologies as well and written stories
Mm.
and poems. Are they
Yeah.
entirely for children, or do you write for adults as well?
So the anthologies are for children. They're through an author, Michelle Worthington, has published the anthology series called um, so it's under the name of Anthology Angels, but they are really aimed at children.
Mhm.
And each anthology that's come out has raised money normally for children's
Oh,
organisations.
nice.
But so when I was early writing, I was more into chapter books and probably young adult. And I think it was because I think a little bit of me was tapping back into my adolescent years, teenage years,
Hmm.
and what I enjoyed back then. But I was
Mm.
teaching the older children from school. So I was also thinking about what they were into. I was sort of tuning into that and asking them a lot of questions about what they liked reading.
Mm.
So I was writing for slightly older, not quite adult. I've dabbled a little bit in it, but it's definitely something that I want to get into in the future
Mm.
when I'm not teaching as much. Got a bit
Yeah.
more time on my hands.
Yeah. What do you read? Do you read children's books, or I mean, obviously, I'm guessing I don't know how old your girls are. Do you read to them
Yeah.
or read with them?
So
Um,
my eldest is 14 and
okay.
she's an avid reader as well. So
Hmm.
no, we don't really read together anymore. She's got all of
Mm.
her novels that she loves and she enjoys writing as well.
Okay.
My 10-year-old, we still read together.
Mm.
So she'll bring home her library books from school and we love to sit down and read them.
Mm.
But she's very independent as well. So she'll also go off and read by herself. But I do
Mm.
still love children's books. I remember early on when I was getting into, taking the thought of being an author more seriously, I'd
Mm.
borrow a heap of children's books from the local library and I would just make out that I was borrowing them for my kids or my students at school, but they were really for me.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit like the kid that hasn't grown up in that sense, but I have lately read a couple of books for grown-ups
Hmm.
very slowly because, I don't work late at night because I get sleepy and I also get
Yeah.
sleepy trying to read books in bed late at
Yeah.
night. But I've gradually
Yeah.
got myself through
Fine.
a couple of novels, but
Okay.
I
Do you
love
have
children's books.
do you have a favorite author? You just read what grabs you.
Mm. Oh, that's a really hard one.
Okay.
Um,
Do
I don't think I could just choose one. So
no.
many.
Yeah. I suppose it's like
Um,
because some people say
mm,
if you've written a lot of books with different characters, it's like quite often
mm,
in these Q&As people will ask you what your favorite. We'll probably ask this when we come back and talk about
yeah.
books specifically. That
Mm.
what picking a favorite character. A lot of authors will say that it's like choosing your favorite child. You can't do it.
Yes, exactly. And I think with me, because I'm definitely drawn to picture books a lot, and that's, probably because of the illustration style. So I'll be
Mm.
drawn to certain illustrator styles. We have an author and illustrator, mostly illustrator in Australia called Anna Walker. She's
Mhm.
amazing and her work is really inspiring. So I'm really drawn to her books. And another illustrator that I've been lucky to meet, Jess Racky I've got the book here actually. You'll see how beautiful her
Oh
watercolor
yes, that's
art is.
lovely.
Yeah.
Hmm. Mm.
So I think I get drawn to the illustrations and then I'll start to look at the story. And then, yeah, if I feel
Mm.
inspired by the storyline, that's when I'll borrow or
Mm.
buy the book.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier on that you draw, so you draw with a pencil and then paint, because you were saying that's
Mm,
watercolor, and then
mm,
do pencil as well. You do a mix
yeah,
of two. Okay,
I do.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So I start with the grey lead and do the sketch. I like to
Mm.
sketch everything, as well as I can first.
Hmm.
A lot of illustrators, when they're starting to draw or plan out a book, they call them the roughs. They'll do very rough sketches, but I
Hmm.
tend to draw the pictures quite well, because I think I visualize it well and then I try and draw it as well as I can see it in my mind. And then
Mm.
I'll go to the watercolors, which I've got back here.
Okay.
But lately I've been experimenting with inks, which are just beautiful. But things like this.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah, they're really vibrant colours. So I'm
Hmm.
enjoying them more than the watercolours.
Mm.
So yeah, you squeeze them out onto a palette and
Right.
yeah, and just paint like you would with
Yeah.
watercolour.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're just
Okay.
beautiful. Because a book that I'm working on now is called Splash, and it's all about the young character experimenting with paint. So I thought I really
Nice.
wanted those colours to be, really bright and
To be
vibrant in the
bright.
book.
Yeah.
They
And
work
is
well.
is this a book that you're doing, or is this a commission?
Mm.
Uh, Is
Yeah,
this a,
so this book it's a story that I wrote, and I was inspired by students at my school. I used to teach visual arts for about 6 or 7 years,
mm,
and I was noticing how art and coming into the art room would just, completely change the mood of some of the children, really help them,
mm,
and bring out a lot of happiness. And yeah, so it was inspired by a particular student that was going through some rough times, and the change on her, her face and her
mm,
mood when she started
mm,
to play with the colors and paints was,
mm,
yeah, it really
mm,
stuck with me. So
mm.
I knew that I had to write a story. I wrote that story probably about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, and drew a few pictures here and there. It was only recently that I
Mm,
thought, "Oh, I'm gonna try that story again." I sent it into my publisher, and she
mhm.
loved it straight
Oh,
away. So
good.
I'm very
Good.
lucky that, yeah, she's helping me to bring
Yeah.
it to life.
Okay. Is that the one that's coming out in the new year? Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
how
yeah.
lovely.
So it's called Splash, and
Right.
Daisy Lane Publishing
Hmm.
is bringing it out for me.
How lovely. Fabulous.
Yeah.
And so tell us how you got involved with your publisher. How did you get your book published?
Oh, yeah. So several years ago, I had a surprise email. I was starting to put my work out there a little bit, on social media. I'd gone to a couple of sort of publishing conferences, was trying to get brave and meet people. And I had this surprise email from Jennifer Sharp from Daisy Lane saying that somebody was interested in my illustrations and was going to publish a story with her, because my publisher does traditional publishing and also helps people to self-publish as well.
Hmm.
And she said, "Would you be interested in working for us?" And so I was doing a happy dance and, really, really
Absolutely.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became my first real contract.
Mm,
Funnily enough, that first story wasn't the one that I illustrated, because she sent me another manuscript by fantastic Australian author Tina Raffa Mulligan, and the
mm.
story really hit me, like, emotionally, called Solo Dan. This one here
Oh, yes.
about.
I
Have you
love
seen that
that.
before?
I haven't. No. No, I love
Ah.
that picture. That's you could just
So
it's
this
just
is
some.
Dan.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that you can get so much emotion. I mean, that's a fun picture. You get so much
It is a
emotion
fun
from a
picture.
picture. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, that's what we wanted to capture, because he's,
Mm,
to begin with, you just think that he's this mischievous, always happy boy, but he's hiding that underneath he's not that happy, because he's an orphan, and
right.
he looks, cheeky, everything he does early in the
Mm,
story. But
mm,
then you learn more about his story, and that he has never really had a family to call his own, or a home to call his own.
mm,
So he's bounced from home to home.
mm,
And then towards the end of the story, there is a family that wants to adopt him. So
mm,
yeah, you go through the roller coaster of emotions. So I
mm,
remember, it still actually makes me emotional now. I remember reading it, and yeah, it really hit me and had a few tears. And so I emailed Jennifer back and said, "Please, can I illustrate this book?" And I
mm,
could just picture scene by scene what it would look like.
mm.
Yeah.
So do
So
you?
yeah,
Because
so
you
that was
obviously
my first intro.
right. Because obviously
Mm.
you've read the story. You've got the words already. So
Yes.
how much do you collaborate when you're illustrating? How much do you collaborate with the author? Do you give some
Well,
suggestions, or do they
yeah,
say the kind of thing they want?
yeah, I've had a couple of different experiences. So Jennifer is great, where she encourages the author to be involved in the process.
Mm,
So Tina, Jennifer, and I all chatted at different times, and as I was sketching pictures and working my way through it, I'd share them, and they would give some feedback, which was, generally it was really positive, and there were only a few little sort of tweaks I had to make. I've illustrated for another publishing company where it was more that I was given the writing and sent it in. The author did get to see it and have a say, but it was more what the publisher was looking
Sure.
for, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, when there were suggestions made, it was more from the publisher.
Mm.
So I think I have heard of illustrators saying that sometimes they won't even speak to the author the whole way through the
Mm.
process. The
Mm.
author gets a surprise at the end of what the pictures look like.
And you
So
have to
I
hope
like
that
being
he or
able
she,
to talk with
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. No, I think it's important, because it
Mm,
does vary from publisher to publisher. I know, regardless
mm,
of whether it's just the covers or whether there's illustrations,
mm.
there are illustrations in the
Yeah.
book, that it
Mm.
is the author's baby. So you would hope
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when the author sees the finished product, that they like, or at least proofs
But they're happy.
that they like. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I,
that's really important.
mm,
They're the ones that first came up with the idea and
yeah,
visualized it.
yeah. And it's got
So
their name on it.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know,
They want
I
to feel
know
really
of,
proud of it.
yeah, absolutely. Because I know of even top authors who've said on social media their new book is out, and they've sort of not
Mm,
necessarily made such a splash of their latest book. You
mm,
think they'd be delighted,
mm.
and then it transpires that it's got a dog on the cover, and there's no dog in the picture in the book, or
Oh,
something, they
oh,
hate the cover, or
mm.
it's got a ginger haired
Oh.
lady and she's blonde, or you
And
know
yeah, they picture something completely
yeah,
different.
yeah. And you have to
Mm.
hope, really, that the publisher knows what they're doing, a marketing team know what they're doing.
Mm.
But even so,
Yeah.
it's still got to be representative of the book, especially more so with children,
Yes.
because they have a vivid imagination, and they're given the main
Yeah.
character, it's told what the main character looks like and the other characters look like,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
then they develop
Yeah.
their world from it.
Hmm. That's right.
So presumably, did you have any other input when you're doing your own book and your own illustrations? Do you have any guidance, or is the
Through the
publisher quite happy?
process.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think, yeah, I've pretty much just had freedom to go for it. Um, just along the way, sometimes Jennifer's asked to send in a few samples, and then also so that we can share, the progress on social media and help promote the book.
Mhm.
But no, I'm pretty lucky actually. She's, really supportive of my work, and haven't really had to change anything actually.
Because I
Pretty lucky
think
with Daisy
really,
Lane.
yeah, I think really every publisher wants to make a success of their authors, and it's a bond,
Mm,
isn't it? They're nurturing your baby, and they
yeah.
want you to be a success and write more books, and
Mm,
as if they don't have
mm,
authors, they don't have a publishing company.
mm. And I'm lucky with Jennifer because she, even very early when I was, like after that first contact,
Mm,
she supported and followed my work all through the process, and anything I was working on, she's always shared for me, which has been
mm,
lovely. So
mm,
she knows my work well, before, yeah, I've signed this
mm.
contract with her.
Yeah. So let's talk about Cookie. Cookie's Cookie, your current dog?
No, no,
Oh,
Cookie,
she
Cookie
was the
is,
Spriddle.
yeah, she's passed away, the
Yeah.
one that was
Oh,
17.
oh.
Skipper is the young one, the one that's
Mm-hmm.
a bit over 1.5. She's the crazy
Right.
Labrador.
Oh, yeah.
No, she's young, so she's so full of energy
Oh,
and was very naughty, but she's starting to settle
oh,
down. But
yeah.
but both dogs have got, full of personality, and
Yeah.
they themselves give lots of ideas for stories.
Right. Okay. So could we have a dog series? Uh,
Oh yeah, there very well could be a dog series.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
one of the
lovely.
stories that I think I mentioned before, the character was Muddy Paws, based on Cookie, Muddy
Hmm.
Paws and Oreo, and yeah, I was lucky that was printed in an anthology, and I actually have sometimes thought, oh, I might return to that one, because
Mm,
that one I drew a few pictures, but
Mm.
it's more of a picture book format. So it is one that I could go and, go through the whole process,
Oh, yeah.
maybe see if I can publish it one day.
Right. So do you get copies of the anthologies when they're published? Or
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And we can buy the creator copies. So,
Mhm.
say if the retail price is like $30, then we might only have to pay $10 or less, and that way we
Mm.
can actually go and sell the copies ourselves, or
Mhm.
give copies as gifts, put them in
Mm.
libraries. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really
And you
good.
do you have a good
Mm.
author network where you are? I mean, you're in a,
Mm.
a major
Yeah.
city, so presumably there you
Yeah.
could get contact and there are events you can go to and other writers you
Yeah,
can
and
chat
and
with.
early on, I did go to, when I was sort of getting into this process, I did go to a few events, which was really nice to chat to people, and some of
Mm.
those people we still are in touch now. Yeah, probably some of the people I'm closer with in writing groups are interstate.
Mm.
And we might meet up in the future. But I think we're so lucky to have these online writing groups, encourage each other and share ideas, promote
Yeah,
each other's work.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
So
really the
what's
only reason I keep Facebook and Instagram.
okay? Yes, I often say that because especially with Facebook now, there are so many marketeers that they are just every day I sort of almost spend more time blocking them than I do. They say author, show off your book, and some
Yeah.
authors are getting, and there's a small group of us who have little posters that sort of beware author beware because
Yes.
they're just there to make money.
Yeah.
And fair
No, that's
enough,
right. Yeah.
businesses are on there
Mm.
to promote themselves, but
Mm.
there's a lot of scams going on, and it
We
just
have to
takes
be
the shine.
careful. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely, it takes the shine off it. But
That's right.
it's a great
Yeah.
way of meeting new people. I've had a lot
Yeah.
of authors
Mm.
through Facebook and Instagram, and
Mm.
I
Yeah.
have one video on TikTok, so I'm a newbie, definitive
I don't
newbie
even
to
have
that. So
TikTok, so you're one step up from me.
right. Well, I joined it
Mm.
about 2 years ago, or a year or two ago,
Mm.
and it sat there on in a folder on my phone, and I'd never done anything with it. And then I started this series, and I thought, right, I must get
Yeah.
on there. So there's just a promotional video so far, but I will put all the videos up there because they're
Well
short
done,
enough
you've
to
started.
to do. Yes, exactly. So it's building the academy initially, and
Mm.
now it's going out. So I'll be reposting the videos on
Mm.
elsewhere, get
Very
people in
good.
that way. So you have a
Exciting.
new book out. So the book is finished. Is it the one that's coming out in
The
January,
book
in
the
early New
book's
Year?
nearly finished. It's
Hmm.
nearly finished, so I've illustrated all of the pictures, but I'm just in that final coloured pencil stage that I was mentioning. So it's really close. So we've picked out the front cover, the back cover illustrations, written the blurb, so
Right.
we've done lots
Yeah.
of those things.
Mhm.
I could probably show you a sneak peek of the cover, which is
Okay.
behind me. And this is it's been put together like a collage.
Oh
So
wow.
you can see that's in
Oh
pieces.
yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Oh
so
wow.
that's my main character. That's Lucy, and she's the
Hmm.
one that discovers the joy of um, paint, or playing with paint and
Mm.
art. And
Hmm.
this will
Any of
say
the title.
splash.
Yeah.
And then in contrast, I think Jennifer would be okay with me sharing a sneak peek of the
Okay.
picture that will be on the back cover.
Okay.
In contrast,
Oh
this is
wow.
Lucy when she's going
Oh.
through a struggle.
Mm.
So yeah, so we wanted
Yeah.
to show the difference in her
Yeah.
emotions that she goes through.
Yeah. Oh wow. Because
Yeah.
you do have a mental health background, don't you? You've been involved in helping
Yeah.
and teaching and yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a teacher for a long time, but the last 3, 4 years I've been interested and done a lot of learning in the area of mental health. I'm a mental health and wellbeing leader at my school.
Mm.
All of our primary schools, just about in our state of Victoria, have mental health and wellbeing leaders, which is fantastic. And I've done studies in counselling. So, but
mm,
I've always had that interest in wellbeing for students.
mm,
You know, you're not just there
mm.
to teach the
No.
academic side. It's
Yeah.
yeah about checking in and helping kids as much as you can.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so I do feel that because of that interest, that my future stories and writing probably will go along those lines.
mm,
And when I've got the time, I'll be able to write down, yeah, some more ideas.
mm,
Earlier on when I was when I, early 20s when I was writing, as I said, I was writing chapter books and it was a lot to do with adventures and magic, which I still love. You know,
mm.
I think it's great for kids to go into that imaginary world.
Sure.
But I think my future stories will be about what's really important to me or
Mm,
what I'm
mm,
experiencing or what's affecting me at the
mm.
time.
Because I think there's
Mm.
been a definite shift in the last few years where, we've
Yeah.
gone from a generation where boys don't cry to
Yeah.
anybody being able to open their feelings
Mm.
on social media and have support
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. Being encouraged. That's
Yeah,
right. I don't know
absolutely.
if you have in the UK, we have a day called Are You OK Day?
Okay, no, we
Do
don't.
you have
Well,
anything like that?
we may
Yeah.
have we may have an equivalent, but no, I've not
Yeah.
heard of that.
And that day is actually all about checking in with each other,
Mm,
family, friends,
mm,
colleagues, and, asking that simple question, are you okay? But then,
mm,
to make sure that, if the person does want to talk, we do dedicate that time to listen and,
mm,
if needed, maybe suggest some further ways that they could get
mm.
some help and support.
Well,
Yeah, so
because
I know what you mean. There has definitely been a shift. I think,
yeah,
especially here, there's been a big shift since COVID.
mm,
Um, as we all know, so many lives were affected, and
mm,
including with our young people. So I think there's a statistic of 1 in 4 young children developed mental health illnesses. So that's
mm,
when our government um, started to put more system programs in place, like the mental health leader roles,
mm,
which I think is fantastic. And it's
mm,
definitely shifted the way we teach and how we support kids at
mm,
school.
mm. Well, I think one of the few good things to come out of the whole lockdown
Mm.
was a community spirit. Because I don't know how
Mm.
old Next Door is, but there's a social website called Meetup, and that started
Mm.
after 9/11 because there was a whole community spirit in New
Mm.
York and beyond.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the people who set up Meetup wanted that to be everywhere, and it is everywhere. If you move area, you just
Mm.
look for a local, and they have various different organisational writing groups
Mm.
and knitting groups and running groups and on Meetup, and the same with Next Door. I don't know if it's. I'm pretty sure it's international,
Mm.
and it is very much a community. I've lost my cat, and has anybody heard
Mm.
from Mrs. Or seen the old lady that goes to the co-op every day, and it's very much a
Oh.
community, um,
And it is
warning
checking in
people.
with each other.
It is, yeah. We've had
Great.
really bad. Yesterday it was literally chucking all day, and
Mm.
then there were posts on Facebook, on next door, and probably on local
Mm.
Facebook as well, warning people not to go on a certain road because it was flooded. And it's
Oh,
lovely.
yeah.
I love all that.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that was the thing to come
definitely.
out of it. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there is good in social media,
That's
and
right. Yeah.
as authors we need
Mm.
it, don't we?
We
Where would we
do.
be
Yeah.
without our online comrades? So
Well,
when
that's
you
right. We'd be all locked away in our little studios writing and
absolutely we'd probably get
not
more
talking to
writing.
anyone.
We'd get more writing done, but that's beside the point. So you finished the writing for Splash. Do you have something
Yeah.
else? Do you have the next one? Do you work on one more than one thing at once, or do you just tend to focus on one project and
So,
move
well,
on to the next?
sometimes I've got different things on the go, but at the moment I've just really focused on Splash. When
Hmm.
a couple of other projects were sort of suggested or offered, I've actually just been quite clear and said I really want to focus on it, because
Mm.
generally a picture book takes around 9 months to
Right.
illustrate for the full
Li Literally a
process.
baby. Literally your
Yeah,
baby.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly 9 months. carrying that book baby. Yes, I just wanted to dedicate that time and being so busy with teaching. And another thing that I do is I work as an author in residence at schools.
Okay. Hmm.
That's a newish job that I have, which
Yeah.
is wonderful. So it's working with a group of children at schools
Mm.
who want to be young authors and helping
Mm.
them to develop their own little stories, which gets
Mm.
published into a book by
Wow.
a company called RDoc. So yeah, so I'm
Okay.
quite busy with that as well. So I'm
And
just trying to
what
juggle.
ages are you teaching there? Are you working with,
Well,
or does
with
it
the
vary?
author in residence program, I think it's just primary school
Okay.
aged, but and
Mm.
generally probably about ages 9 or 10 to about 12, 13.
Okay. Mm.
Um, there was a school that I was going to teach the real little ones, which would have been very different.
Mm.
Yeah, but they've put that on hold, and I'll work with some older students at another school
Yeah.
next.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
did a year and a bit at a local school when I've moved from one county to another, and
yeah.
we did an after school writing club,
Oh, cool.
literally
Yeah.
just after school for I think it was
Mm,
3:30 to 4:30, and
mm.
I was introduced as a crime writer, which I do. I write crime and women's fiction,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
introduced as a crime writer, and the whole this was 9 and 10 year olds, boys and girls,
Mm,
and
mm,
they were delighted. And I then realised, not having,
yeah,
I have fur babies as children, and
yeah.
then realised how evil 9 and 10 year olds can be, because we're literally in the first session we had a caretaker with his hands chopped off. It was almost, because I was introduced as a crime writer, it was almost free reign then for the children to be
Yes, you
grisly
gave them
as
the
they
license
like.
to do that.
Absolutely. Yes. But no, that was
Well,
fun. And then
that's like
that was fun.
same as me. The last
Yeah.
school that I've worked at as the author in residence, 9 and 10 year olds, and there were a few nice stories in there, but most of them were about monsters and horror, and they
Mm,
actually wanted the book to be a horror story, but then we had to point out that because the copies of the book go in their school library too, we said, well, some of the preps who are like 5, 6 years old, you
it'd be
still
too
need to
much.
write so you don't give them nightmares. So they
Yeah.
had to just calm it down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they could write the grizzly for pleasure, and then
Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Kim, chatting
Thank you
with
very
you
much for having
today.
me.
You're very, very
It's been
welcome.
lovely.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you in the new year. I was hoping.
That'd be great.
I think people
Yeah.
watching this and who've seen earlier videos were hoping to come back in October,
Mm,
November, but I think it's going to be the
mm.
start of the new year, when it's not so busy for
Sounds good.
people, and chat about. And yes, we shall come back after
Mm.
Splash is out.
Yeah,
Then
that'd be
we
great.
can
I could
see the
show you.
finished product. Okay, no, it's been a pleasure.
Definitely.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you,
bye bye.
Morgan.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye. Bye.